Have you ever went to a yard sale and found a cheap instrument? No, not that one. That one. There we go. And decide this was going to be your personality for the next week? Well, me too. Have you always wanted to learn the instrument and dropped all your other hobbies just to learn it? Did you think you were going to sound like all of those YouTube videos, but ended up not even being able to make much of a sound at all?
My name's Aurelia Mitchell, and these are 8 tips on how to practice and learn a new instrument.
The first tip I have is stare at who you want to become. Find someone who inspires you, who plays the same instrument as you. For me, I chose Lizzo. Find out everything you can about them, when they started their instrument, who taught them, why they chose their instrument. Get inspiration from them. Now that you have inspiration, it's time to pick up your instrument. The second tip is each day build on a perfect chunk. You might be asking, what is a chunk? A chunk is small bits of big things. Let's say you wanted to chunk this piece. Identify where you're having trouble. So for me, it's these 4 bars. Here I broke it down to my trouble area. This is my chunk. You want your chunks to be small and achievable. Let's say this is my chunk. By breaking your music down, you can identify where you're going wrong in the music and really focus in on what you're doing. If you set a goal for yourself to do 1 perfect chunk a day, then you'll really know the music you are playing, and it'll be easier to play it all the way through. My third tip for you all is set clear goals for yourself. Here are all my goals laid out for me. I wrote down my ultimate goals, which are goals that you want to achieve in your lifetime. Then my long-term goals, which are in the next 2 to 5 years. Here are my midterm goals, which are from a month to a year. Now we're getting more specific. These are my short-term goals, which are about a week away. Here I have my immediate, micro, and nano goals. An immediate goal is something you want to achieve within that practice session. A micro goal is the more achievable version of your immediate goal, so it's sort of like a chunk. And lastly, a nano goal, which are almost to-do list items. My next tip is slow it down slower than you think. If you can play something slow, you can play it fast.
You might be thinking at this point in the video, how am I going to stay motivated? So here are 3 tips to stay motivated while practicing.
Number 1, play what you want to play. Playing and learning repertoire is a great way to get familiar with a new instrument. Start by going on YouTube and finding easy tutorials on how to play songs. I know that kept me motivated. Leave your instrument in plain sight. When you leave your instrument in plain sight, you're more likely to go pick it up and play it. Be okay with practicing in small increments. 15 minutes of practice is still practice, and sometimes getting out of bed and doing that 15 minutes will be all the difference. Who knows, maybe you'll just keep playing. Tip number 6 is mime it. If you can play it in the dark, you can play it in the light. By not using one of your senses, it will heighten your other ones, and maybe you'll hear something you didn't before. Tip number 7 is always leave your practices on a good note. Think about it. If you leave when you're frustrated, then the next time you go to practice, all you'll remember is being frustrated. You want to end on a good, positive note. And maybe that's just playing your smallest achievable perfections. Tip number 8 is smallest achievable perfections. Don't worry, guys. I'll explain this one too. Smallest achievable perfections are when you take chunks of things and you play the smallest thing you can do right. So let's say I can only play a quarter note of an excerpt or a chunk. That's all I can do. That's the smallest achievable perfection. This not only helps with learning a piece, but also motivation.
That's all I have for my practicing tips. I hope you enjoyed. Go practice.